counterclockwise. Kind of interesting. Maybe that's why it was named the female planet Venus after the female goddess, rather than one of the male names that seem to hang on all the other planets except Earth. In either 1915 or 1919, Burroughs purchased a large ranch north of Los Angeles, California, which he renamed Tarzana, and the citizens liked it, so they incorporated it in 1927. At the time of the attack on Pearl Harbor, when he was quite an old man, Burroughs was a resident of Hawaii, and despite being in his late 60s, he applied for permission to become a war correspondent. This permission was granted, and so he became one of the oldest war correspondents in the United States during World War II. American film director Wes Anderson is Burroughs' great-grandson. He was named to the Science Fiction Hall of Fame in 2003, long after his death. And again, he passed away of a heart attack in 1950, having written almost 80 novels. A couple of great sports figures have birthdays today. One of them is Roger Maris. The M&M boys were really my inspiration for baseball when I was a kid, although I always got sent out to left field because I wasn't a very good player. But at any rate, I enjoyed being part of a team anyway. And occasionally they wake me up with somebody knocking something out in left field, which I usually didn't catch. That's why they kept hoping I'd improve. But Roger Maris was actually, the Maris name was M-A-R-A-S, and he was born September 10th, 1934. But since they were a Croatian family, he wanted to change his name to a more Anglo spelling, so he changed the M-A-R-I-S when he was quite young. He was born in Minnesota. He signed a minor league baseball contract with the Cleveland Indians farm team early on in his life. And he played in 4 minor league seasons from 1953 to 56. He hit .303 with 78 home runs in 56 alone. In Game 2 of the 56 Junior World Series, Maris would set a record by getting 7 runs batted in, which hasn't been achieved there since. In Major League Baseball, he started out with the Cleveland Indians and was quickly traded, which was more common at the time, to the Kansas City Athletics, who were a farm team, who were a major farm team for the Yankees at the time, and they traded off their best players, and so it was 1960 was actually his first game as a Yankee outfielder, the year before he broke Babe Ruth's all-time season record of home runs hit in one season. Maris hit a single, double, and 2 home runs in his first game as a Yankee outfielder in 1960. But what I remember the most, on the old black and white TV, I remember Mrs. Sandberg in our library at BY Elementary School, long torn down, had an old black and white TV in which we got to watch the M&M boys during the World Series. And they were both chasing Mantle, who was my favorite player, and Maris, who was my second favorite player, although Maris is the one that beat the record. We're both chasing Babe Ruth's 60 home run season that he had in 1927, although it's an unfair comparison, as many of them are in sports, because there were fewer games played in 1927 than there were in 61. But the record fell for a season all-time record to 61, which was held until, as you know, 1998, when we had Sosa and McGuire going after it. And again, a hard comparison because, as you know, both Sosa and McGuire later came under scrutiny for use of enhancing drugs. Maris died quite young, which is unfortunate, as did Mantle. Mantle was turned into a drunk, which is too bad. Maris had a number of health problems and passed away actually before Mantle did in 1985. Well, and then the other sports figure, and I brought a couple of Maris items here today. There's his rookie card. This was just put out. This was put out years ago. It's just a little thing with a bat and a ball and metal. Maris's picture. And then I want to show you one of my favorite things, which I might have shown before. I don't know, because it is one of my favorites. As wrinkled as that looks, that's a national 19 '61 Yankees team, I think the best team in baseball, signed by all the players, including Arnold Maris. It's turned a little yellow with the sun and it's gotten wrinkled, but it's still one of my favorite pieces. And photography being what it is. I don't know if that's too big to pass around or not, but I'd like you to see the signatures if you could. Whitey Ford's on there. Yogi Berra's still with us and is on there. And at any rate, another great sports figure who's still alive, 84 years old today, is Arnold Palmer, who inspired all of us as kids to get interested in the very boring game of golf. A number of books and quotes are to the effect that it's a good walk ruined, and there's something to that effect. My boys drag me out about once every few weeks during the summer, and I perpetually outdo myself in doing worse than the year before. But at any rate, it's been a lot of fun, and my son Adam got me on his iPhone a month or so ago singing a 40-foot putt, which was actually the only good putt I've sunk in about 5 years. Just happened to have his iPhone on, so in our family I've gone from a joke to somebody they can watch on the iPhone, making singing that putt. Arnold Palmer really popularized the game of golf more than any other player. He was born of humble circumstances, actually. His father, who taught him to play golf, much like Tiger's dad did later, was named Milfred Deacon Palmer. He'd suffered from polio, his father, at a young age, and was the head professional and greenskeeper at Latrobe Country Club, which Arnold bought years later and continues to own, among some of the other country clubs he owns. But he allowed young Arnold to accompany him in maintaining the course, and he attended Wake Forest University on a golf scholarship, which was almost unheard of at the time. His win in the 1954 U.S. Amateur made him decide to try Pro Tour for a while, and he and his new bride, Winifred Walzer, who we'd met at a Pennsylvania tournament, and she was an athlete herself, traveled the circuit for 1955. He grew up, incidentally, with Fred Rogers of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood fame. They were best friends. Palmer won the 1955 Canadian Open in his rookie season and raised his game status for the next several seasons. Those of us around there remember how popular he was. He was really the first star of golf on TV and really put the sport on television more than any other player. Palmer's charisma was a major factor in establishing golf as a compelling television event in the 50s and 60s, setting the stage for the popularity it enjoys today. I've got a number of things signed by him, but there is one. Here's a signed picture of him taking a cut. And his first major championship win was in the '58 Masters tournament, which cemented his position as one of the leading stars in golf. By 1960, he signed up as a pioneering sports agent with Mark McCormick as his first client. The two of them were quite a team, have been. In later interviews, McCormick listed 5 attributes that made Palmer especially marketable. His good looks, his relatively modest background, his father being a polio victim and greenskeeper, before rising to the club professional at Latrobe, a very humble club, incidentally. The way he played golf, taking risks, and wearing his emotions on his sleeve, which we remember, his involvement in a string of exciting finishes in early revised tournaments, and his affability. Everybody likes Arnold Palmer. Palmer's also credited by many for securing the status of the Open Championship in Britain, because most American players didn't want to go over to England. The travel and the low attorney prize and other things made them want to stay away from it. But he wanted to emulate some of the feats of Bobby Jones, who you remember in the early days won the Grand Slam, including the British Open. Walter Hagen won it, Sam Snead and Ben Hogan before him would truly make it a global sporting star, and he wanted to do that. Unfortunately, he lost his first one, but he later won that. Palmer won 7 major championships during his American career: the Masters in '58, '60, '62, '64, U.S. Open in '60, and the Open Championship in '61 and '62. His most prolific years were 60 to 63, which most of us here would remember. Palmer's had a diverse golf-related business. He's built a number of courses. He owns this course that he grew up on, that his father was the groundskeeper on, and he owns the Bay Hill Invitational, which has been renamed since he owns the club, been renamed to PGA Tour's Arnold Palmer Invitational now. And he's built a number of golf courses, as many of them do, around the world. In 2000, in fact, earlier on in his career, he built the first golf course with his partner in China that's ever been built there. In 2000, Palmer was ranked the 6th greatest player of all time in Golf Digest magazine's ratings. And he according to them, he made $1,861,857 in 734 PGA Tour career starts over 53 years, and he earned an estimated $30 million off the course in the 1 year of 2008 alone. So there is money to be made off the golf course. Palmer was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2004 by President Bush, and the Congressional Gold Medal in 2009, which he received from President Obama. He was the first golfer to be awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the second golfer after Byron Nelson to be awarded the Congressional Gold Medal. His grandson, incidentally, Sam Saunders, is a professional golfer. Saunders grew up playing at Bay Hill, which his grandfather owns, and won the club championship there at age 15. He attended Clemson on a golf scholarship, turned pro in 2008. Saunders stated that Palmer's family nickname is Dumpy. And I don't know where that comes from, but at any rate, interesting guy. And I wanted to wind up, I've taken more time than I should, by honoring another man that's actually more local to us, but he's listed in the birthdays today, and that's Boyd K. Packer, who turns 89 today. And great member, those of us that are Latter-day Saints, great member of the church, the 26th president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. I had a couple of experiences with him, and